Dear Chosen One, there has been a shift in the spiritual atmosphere surrounding your life that cannot be undone. What held you captive for years, the cycle of pain, the recurring betrayal, the shame that followed you like a shadow, has been severed at the root. This is not hope speaking, this is heaven's verdict. The door has been sealed behind you. You will never have to go through that again. The illusion that kept you bound was intricate, woven with lies about your identity, your worth, your purpose. It whispered that you deserved the suffering, that you were too damaged to be chosen, that your past disqualified your future. But truth erupted like light through cracked glass. What was hidden has been exposed. What was twisted has been straightened. The narrative that imprisoned you has collapsed, and with it, the power it held over your soul. Notice how the environment reacted when the truth emerged. There was chaos, defensiveness, frantic attempts to rebuild the lie. That was not random. Your presence, your awakened presence, destabilizes systems built on deception. The intensity of their reaction confirms what heaven already knows. You carry weight. You carry authority. You carry a frequency that false structures cannot withstand. The eruption was not your undoing, it was confirmation of your assignment. The weapon they used against you for so long has lost its edge. Isaiah 54:17 promised that no weapon formed against you would prosper, but it went further. It said you would condemn every tongue that rises in judgment. The blade did not just miss, it shattered in the enemy's hand. What once pierced you now falls harmless at your feet. The same accusation, the same manipulation, the same emotional ambush, it no longer penetrates. You have become immune. Cycles only continue when they are fed. Fear fed it, doubt fed it, reactivation fed it. Every time you flinched at the trigger, every time you defended yourself against the same old lie, you gave it oxygen. But when you stopped feeding the pattern, it starved. When you stopped explaining yourself to people who were never listening, the cycle lost its fuel. When you stopped internalizing their projections, the loop collapsed. Silence became your sword. Peace became your weapon. Your stillness now speaks louder than their accusations ever could. What used to send you into panic now barely registers. The comment that would have unraveled you last year rolls off like water. The scenario that would have triggered a 3-day spiral now gets a glance and a shrug. This is not numbness, this is mastery. This is what it looks like when someone has been through the fire and emerged fireproof. The gatekeepers lost their grip the moment you stopped explaining yourself to them. Pain was always meant to be temporary, but somewhere along the way, it started feeling permanent. You began introducing yourself by your trauma. You wore your wounds like identity. But suffering was never your name. It was your visitor. And every visitor has a checkout time. The lease expired the moment your character caught up with your calling. The moment you stopped being defined by what happened to you and started being defined by who you became through it, the pain lost its residency. Much of what you carried was not even yours to begin with. It was inherited, generational trauma, cycles of poverty, patterns of abandonment, addictions passed down like heirlooms. You were born into a war you did not start. But heaven marked you as the one who would end it. You are the interruption. You are the break in the chain. The bloodline stops bleeding with you. What plagued your ancestors for decades meets its match in your generation, and it will not pass to your children. Consider Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. Yet he became the second most powerful man in Egypt and saved the very family that destroyed him. His suffering was not punishment, it was preparation. The pit was his training ground, the prison was his proving ground, and when the famine came, he was the only one positioned to provide. You are living that script. The ones who wounded you will eventually need what you have become. What looked like poison in your system was actually antidote being created. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every abandonment deepened your capacity for presence. Every humiliation refined your humility into authority. You did not just survive the venom, you metabolized it. Bitterness turned to wisdom. Loneliness turned to intimacy with God. Shame turned to unshakable identity. You became the cure by surviving the disease, and now you walk with immunity that cannot be bought, only built. The enemy tried the same tactic twice, then 3 times, then a dozen times, expecting you to fall the way you used to. But the script changed. The old tricks stopped working. You started seeing the setup before the trap sprung. You felt the shift in the room before the accusation dropped. You recognized the spirit behind the smile before the betrayal landed. This is what immunity looks like. Not that you cannot be touched, but that you cannot be fooled. Your heart has become a fortress, and the gates are guarded by discernment. There comes a moment on every battlefield when the clash of swords goes silent. Not because the warrior fell, but because the enemy exhausted every weapon in the arsenal. You are standing in that silence now. The attacks have not stopped because you surrendered. They stopped because hell ran out of ammunition. Every scheme has been tried, every arrow has been spent, every trap has been sprung and failed. What remains is not war. It is the eerie quiet of total victory that has not yet been announced. You have ascended, not in arrogance, but in frequency. The altitude you operate from now is unreachable by the darts that used to wound you. Gossip does not climb this high. Jealousy cannot breathe at this elevation. Manipulation suffocates in the thin air of your new atmosphere. You did not leave the battlefield. You rose above it. And from up here, the weapons of your enemies look like toys, and their threats sound like whispers carried away by the wind. Favor is no longer something you beg for. It follows you. Doors you used to pound on now swing open before you arrive. Opportunities you used to chase now pursue you. Protection you used to pray for now surrounds you without request. This is what it looks like when heaven stops testing and starts backing. When the proving is done, the promoting begins. And the promotion is not just positional, it is atmospheric. You carry a different presence now, and rooms feel it before you speak. The scars on your body, the fractures in your history, the chapters you wish you could erase. They are not marks of defeat. They are seals of authority. They are the signature of a soul that went to hell and came back with the keys. When you speak now, there is weight. When you walk into a room, there is shift. When you decree a thing, hell hesitates. Not because you are perfect, but because you are proven. Your wounds are your credentials, and heaven recognizes them even when people do not. You are a walking testimony that storms have expiration dates. That betrayal has a ceiling. That suffering has a statute of limitations. People look at you and see someone who should have been destroyed, but instead stands whole. Someone who should have quit, but instead leads. Someone who should have grown bitter, but instead radiates peace. You are proof that what the enemy meant for evil, God rerouted for authority. Your very existence is prophetic, and it disturbs the kingdom of darkness simply by continuing. Heaven has issued a verdict, and it is final. Case closed. The spiritual permission that allowed the assault has been revoked. There will be no retrial, there will be no appeal. What you endured was never punishment, it was initiation. You were not being destroyed, you were being forged. The fire was not meant to consume you, it was meant to consecrate you. And now that the process is complete, the flames have no more jurisdiction. You walked in as a soldier, you walk out as a commander, and commanders do not repeat boot camp. The generational curse that followed your lineage like a shadow has been cut off at your feet. It will not touch your children. It will not whisper to your grandchildren. The poverty, the addiction, the fear, the shame, it dies with you. You absorbed the full force of the curse so that your seed would inherit blessing instead of bondage. You stood in the gap and hell could not cross. You were the firewall, the circuit breaker, the last stand. And because you held, the future is clean. This is a new season, and it does not operate by old rules. What used to take years now takes weeks. What used to require struggle now flows with ease. What used to demand explanation now simply happens. You are not entering this season as a victim hoping for relief. You are entering as a vessel authorized, refined, and resurrected. You carry heaven's signature now, and it opens doors that were never on the map. The atmosphere around you has changed because the atmosphere within you has changed. The sentence of freedom that has been spoken over your life is not just personal, it is territorial. It shifts the climate around you. It breaks chains for people in your proximity. It silences accusations that were not even aimed at you. You have become a walking deliverance, a mobile sanctuary, a living altar. Everywhere you go, captives are released without you saying a word. This is not ego. This is assignment. You were set free so that freedom would follow you, and now it does. You will never have to go through that again because you have become the very thing that breaks it. There is a direct connection between your spiritual breakthrough and your material reality, and that connection is about to become undeniable. The same God who liberated you from internal bondage is now positioning you for external abundance. This is not coincidence, it is kingdom alignment. When the inner world is healed, the outer world responds. Prosperity is not just financial, it is the full manifestation of divine order in every area of your life, and that manifestation is accelerating now. If you are ready to activate the next level of abundance in your life, both spiritually and practically, there is a resource that was designed exactly for this moment. The Call to Prosperity is a manual that breaks down 10 spiritual and practical steps to align with financial abundance the way heaven intends it. This is not motivational fluff or empty promises. This is activation. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. Do not let this moment pass without equipping yourself for what is coming. What you are about to receive in the remainder of this message is not just information, it is impartation. There is a release happening in the spirit as you listen, a breaking of limitations that were never supposed to define you. But impartation requires participation. It requires that you stay present, that you stay open, that you stay with me until the very end. Because at the close of this word, there is a prayer, an activation prayer, that will seal everything spoken and release it into your atmosphere. Do not leave early. Do not let distraction pull you away before the decree is made. This is not entertainment. This is an appointment. You were drawn to this message by divine orchestration, and there is something in the closing moments that your spirit needs to receive. The prayer that is coming will break what needs to break and establish what needs to stand. It will be a moment of encounter, not just agreement. So settle in, breathe deep, and prepare to receive what heaven has been holding for you until now. Understand this. The reason you have not had to repeat that cycle is not because you got lucky. It is because you have been branded by fire. You carry a mark now that hell recognizes. It is the mark of someone who has died and come back, someone who has been to the edge and refused to jump, someone who has been dismantled and rebuilt by the Master's hand. That mark is not visible to the natural eye, but it radiates in the spirit, and it says one thing clearly: this one is untouchable now. When you were in the furnace, you did not know you were being engraved. You thought you were being erased, but every blow, every betrayal, every night you cried yourself to sleep, it was the chisel of God carving His name into your bones. You are not just a survivor, you are a living epistle. Your life is a letter written by the finger of God, and anyone who reads it closely sees the signature of the one who authored your survival. That signature cannot be forged, and it cannot be removed. The lies that defined you before have been replaced with truth that redefines everything. You are not who they said you were. You are not limited by where you came from. You are not disqualified by what you did or what was done to you. You are chosen. You are set apart. You are marked for impact, assigned to disrupt, anointed to restore. And the moment you aligned with that truth, the false narrative lost its power. It could no longer hold you because you stopped agreeing with it. There is a sound in the spirit right now, a sound of chains hitting the ground. Not just yours, but the chains of everyone connected to you. Your parents, your siblings, your children, your friends, they are feeling the shift, even if they do not understand it. When one person in a bloodline breaks free, it creates a vacuum that pulls others toward freedom. You're not just walking out of prison, you are leaving the door open behind you, and others are following the light you are carrying out. Here is what the enemy does not want you to know. The very thing that almost destroyed you is now your greatest weapon. The betrayal taught you discernment. The rejection taught you resilience. The abandonment taught you self-sufficiency under God. The shame taught you humility that cannot be shaken. What was meant to be your obituary became your resume, and now heaven is handing you assignments that require exactly the skill set hell tried to bury. You were not broken by the process, you were sharpened, and now you cut through darkness like light through fog. The call to prosperity is still available, and if you have not accessed it yet, I encourage you to do so before this window closes. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. This is not about selling you something. This is about equipping you for something. The next chapter of your life requires tools, understanding, and alignment that cannot be guessed. They must be learned, and that manual is one of the tools heaven is making available to you right now. Do not let pride or procrastination keep you from what could accelerate your breakthrough. You are not the same person who entered that valley. The one who crawled in on their knees is not the one walking out upright. There has been a death and a resurrection, and what rose from the grave carries the authority of both realms. You know what it is to suffer, so you can comfort. You know what it is to be betrayed, so you can discern. You know what it is to be abandoned, so you can remain faithful. The pain was not wasted. It was weaponized, and now you wield it with precision. Every giant you face from this point forward will fall faster than the last, because you are no longer fighting from a place of fear. You are fighting from a place of remembrance. You remember what God did before. You remember how He made a way when there was none. You remember how He silenced the accuser, how He turned the tables, how He vindicated you in front of everyone who wrote you off. That memory is not nostalgia, it is ammunition, and it loads your faith with the kind of confidence that makes demons tremble. There is a rest available to you now that you have never accessed before. Not the rest of laziness, but the rest of completion, the rest of knowing that the hardest part is behind you. The rest of understanding that what comes next is harvest, not planting. You have sown in tears long enough. You have watered seeds with your own blood long enough. The season of reaping has begun, and it does not require the same intensity of labor. It requires presence, obedience, and the willingness to receive what you have already earned. Hell tried to bury you, but it miscalculated. It did not realize you were a seed, and seeds do not die in the ground. They multiply. What was meant to end you became the soil for a movement. You are not just surviving, you are reproducing. Your story is becoming someone else's courage. Your survival is becoming someone else's permission. Your freedom is becoming someone else's roadmap. You were planted in pain so that a harvest of deliverance could spring up around you, and it is happening now. You have been given eyes to see traps before you step in them. You recognize the setup now. The friendly conversation that is actually reconnaissance. The opportunity that is actually a diversion. The apology that is actually manipulation. You are no longer naive, but you are also not cynical. You have been given the discernment of the dove and the wisdom of the serpent, And that combination makes you dangerous to every agenda that is not aligned with heaven's plan for you. The isolation you endured was not rejection, it was protection. God pulled you out of rooms that would have infected you. He removed you from tables where your gifts would have been exploited. He closed doors that looked like opportunity but were actually traps. You felt alone, but you were being hidden. You felt abandoned, but you were being preserved. And now that the threat has passed, you are being reintroduced to connection, but this time you know the difference between networking and covenant. Your silence during the storm was not weakness, it was warfare. While they were talking, you were praying. While they were accusing, you were worshiping. While they were plotting, you were trusting. And every moment you refused to defend yourself, you forced heaven to do it for you. And heaven's defense is not a rebuttal, it is a reversal. It does not just clear your name, it elevates your position. It does not just answer the accusation, it exposes the accuser. You stayed quiet, and God got loud, and his voice silenced every other voice in the room. The favor that is on your life now is not because you earned it through performance. It is because you endured it through process. Favor is not given to the impressive, it is given to the faithful. You did not quit when quitting made sense. You did not curse God when cursing would have felt justified. You did not walk away when walking away was the logical option. You stayed, and that staying has now become the foundation of everything God is about to build on top of your life. There are rooms you are about to walk into where your presence alone will shift the atmosphere. You will not have to prove yourself. You will not have to announce yourself. You will simply arrive, and the spiritual climate will change. This is what happens when someone has been baptized in fire and comes out smelling like glory instead of smoke. You carry the presence of the one who kept you, and that presence makes hell nervous and heaven confident. You are a walking reminder that God keeps his promises. The doors that are opening now are not the ones you were knocking on last year. Those doors were practice. Those doors were training you to handle rejection without internalizing it. But these doors, these are the ones heaven marked for you before you were born. These are the doors that swing open at the sound of your footsteps because your frequency matches the lock. You do not have to force these. You do not have to manipulate these. You simply have to walk forward, and they will part like the Red Sea, because the same God who parted water is parting every obstacle in front of you right now. The accusations that used to replay in your mind like a broken record have been replaced with declarations. You no longer repeat what they said about you. You repeat what God said about you. You no longer define yourself by your failures. You define yourself by your assignment. You no longer see yourself through the lens of yesterday's shame. You see yourself through the lens of tomorrow's glory. This shift in narrative is not cosmetic. It is foundational, and it changes everything about how you move, how you speak, and how you show up. You have become a sign and a wonder. Not because you are perfect, but because you are still here. People expected you to fall apart, and instead you became whole. They expected you to grow bitter, and instead you became better. They expected you to retaliate, and instead you forgave. They expected you to shrink, and instead you expanded. Your life is a living sermon, and it preaches louder than any words you could speak. You do not have to defend your story. Your survival is the defense, and it is irrefutable. There are people watching you who do not even know they are watching. They see your peace in the middle of chaos, and it unsettles them. They see your joy in the middle of lack, and it confuses them. They see your confidence in the middle of opposition, and it intimidates them. You are not trying to be a spectacle. You are simply walking in the aftermath of deliverance, and deliverance has a glow that cannot be hidden. You are marked, and the mark is undeniable, and it draws both hunger and hostility depending on who is looking. The mantle that is being placed on you now is not light. It carries responsibility, visibility, and opposition. but it also carries authority, provision, and divine backing. You are not being asked to carry it alone. You are being asked to carry it in partnership with the one who called you. And he does not call without equipping. He does not promote without preparing. Everything you went through was preparation for this. Every test was training. Every trial was qualification. You are not underprepared. You are overqualified. And heaven knows it, even if people do not. The old you would have doubted this moment. The old you would have sabotaged this opportunity. The old you would have talked yourself out of walking through this door. But the old you is dead, buried, gone. What remains is the refined version, the resurrected version, the version that has been through hell and came back fireproof. This version does not hesitate. This version does not shrink. This version steps forward with the confidence of someone who knows they were chosen before they were formed, and no amount of opposition can revoke what God has ordained. You are standing on the edge of acceleration, and acceleration feels different than progress. Progress is steady. Acceleration is sudden. Progress is predictable. Acceleration is disorienting. Progress is visible. Acceleration is spiritual first, then material. What took years to build in the last season will take months in this one. What took months to manifest before will take weeks now. The delay is over. The wait is done. The testing phase has concluded and the releasing phase has begun. Hold on, because what is coming will require a new level of capacity, and that capacity is being downloaded into you even now. This is the moment where faith meets favor, where preparation meets opportunity, where destiny meets obedience. You have been faithful in the wilderness. Now you will be fruitful in the land. You have been hidden in obscurity. Now you will be revealed in authority. You have been misunderstood by many. Now you will be recognized by the right ones. The shift is not coming. It has already happened. You are living in the aftermath of a spiritual courtroom decision that went in your favor, and now every realm must align with that verdict. Hell has no appeal. The case is closed. Now, before you go, I want to pray with you, not over you, but with you. This is a moment of sealing, of activation, of releasing what has been spoken into the atmosphere of your life. I want you to close your eyes if you are able. Take a deep breath and receive this not as words, but as a prophetic decree. Let this prayer become your agreement with heaven, and let the sound of your amen be the signature that finalizes it. Here we go. Father, I come before you on behalf of every chosen one who has heard this word, and I thank you that what you have begun in them, you will complete. I thank you that the cycle has been broken, the armor has been shattered, and the door has been sealed behind them. They will never have to go through that again, not because of their strength, but because of your faithfulness. You have turned their mourning into dancing, their ashes into beauty, their shame into a double portion of honor, and we receive it now, in Jesus' name. I speak freedom over every bloodline represented here. I break every generational curse, every inherited pattern of lack, fear, abandonment, and shame. I declare that the chain is broken, and what plagued the fathers and mothers will not touch the sons and daughters. Let the curse die here, and let blessing flow forward from this moment. Let their children walk in open doors and open heavens, never knowing the weight their parents carried, because that weight has been lifted and buried. Let legacy be rewritten starting now. I pray for provision, Father, not just financial, but relational, emotional, and spiritual. Let every area that has been marked by lack be flooded with abundance. Let the windows of heaven open over their lives in such a way that they do not have room to contain it, and let the overflow become the testimony that draws others into freedom. Let their prosperity be proof of your goodness, and let it silence every voice that has mocked their faith. Let them walk in such visible favor that even their enemies have to acknowledge that you are with them. I release discernment and wisdom over them, God. Let them see clearly. Let them hear accurately. Let them move strategically. Let no trap catch them off guard. No scheme succeed against them. No weapon formed against them prosper. Let their yes be yes and their no be no. And let both be backed by your authority. Let them walk in such alignment with your voice that the counterfeit becomes obvious and the authentic becomes unmistakable. Let them be led by your Spirit into every right place, every right connection, every right opportunity. And finally, Father, I seal this moment. Let everything spoken here take root in their hearts and bear fruit in their lives. Let this not be just another message they heard, but a turning point they remember. Let this be the day they look back on and say, that was when everything changed. Let the anointing that has been released through these words rest on them, cover them, and propel them into the fullness of what you have called them to. Let them walk out of this moment different than they walked in, lighter, freer, bolder, and more certain of who they are and whose they are. We receive it, we believe it, and we declare it done, not by our power, not by our might, but by your Spirit, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Chosen one, this is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of the chapter you have been praying for. If this word stirred something in you, leave a comment below. Let me know you were here. Let me know this resonated. Let the algorithm know that this message matters. And if you have not already, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss what is coming next, because the words being released here are not random. They are timed, and they are for you. If you feel led to support this ministry and help us continue to release these prophetic messages, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. Every seed sown into this work comes back to you multiplied, because you are not just giving to a channel, you are partnering with a movement of awakening. The Call to Prosperity link is also there, along with everything else you need. Do not leave this moment without taking action on what your spirit is telling you to do. Obedience in the small things unlocks the big things, and this is one of those small things that carries massive weight. You have been seen. You have been heard. You have been marked. Walk forward knowing that the God who brought you out is the same God who is taking you in. The promised land is not a place. It is a state of being, and you are already there. You will never have to go through that again. I will see you in the next one.